welcome back to my channel. It's been a while. First actual tutorial of the new year. I believe it's February. I know it's like way too long to even use that phrase anymore. But hey, hope you saw my last update video, which came out, which was technically the first video of the new year. Yeah, still trying to find matching fabric for that shirt, but that tutorial will come swiftly when I find the fabric. But anyways, today I wanted to show you a little reconstruction cosplay thing that I'm working on. I'm doing a reconstruction of a leotard for a character called Elizabeth Black from 7 Deadly Sins. It's an anime. So the woman that hired me to do this, sorry, if you see little white things everywhere, it's not animal fur or anything. I'm cutting some blanket for some like robe, pajama lounge set thing, and the fibers just get everywhere. So if you see that, that's what that is. I'm sorry about that. So she bought a leotard that fit her. Let me just kind of go over what the brand is. She got her own leotard. The brand is supernova.com, if anybody's wondering, because it says here on the tag. So she got a leotard from there. What I did is I had her try it on when she was here. And let me kind of bring this much closer. I had her try it on. And if you can see, hold on, you know what, let me try and cover this light area. Oh, so much better. If you can see here, as she was wearing it, with chalk on her body, I just kind of like followed the curve of her body, because, you know, I could do this, if I just kind of eyeballed it, I could do it much lower and have like side boob coming out, which if that's what you want, great. But if not, you do have to kind of draw it while you are wearing it, so that way you know exactly how high to come up, you know, on this side. So I still have the markings there, and with the 7 Deadly Sins, it's also, it's also backless. So I'm gonna have to reconstruct the zipper. As you can see the line, that's where I'm gonna cut. So all this is gonna be missing, and then you're just gonna have this as like the halter top. So I'll go through that too. What else? So here, I don't know if you can see, so I have the original line, but we cannot cut on the original line, because then we sew, we're gonna subtract, and then you're gonna come more into the actual garment. So from the original line that you drew out, where is it? The original line that you drew out here, wherever that is, you're just gonna put in your seam allowance. So I'm doing 1/2 inch, so I'm just gonna kind of do that all the way up to the top here. So 1/2 inch, 1/2 inch, kind of all the way. So this broken dotted line will actually be your cut line. We are going to put in some elastic anytime that you work with stretchy fabrics where there's a curve involved, which now when I cut this, as you can see, there is going to be a curve. You need to reinforce these areas with an elastic, a thin, you know, like 1/4 or 3/8, because as you put this on, it's going to be stretching, and the elastic helps it as a structural element, so it can kind of bounce back together. Even though I know the fabric is stretchy and it does technically bounce back, it will stretch out of place eventually, because this is a curved area, and the bias just kind of grows out and pulls and pulls and grows out as you wear it, or as there's put tension on that curve. So yeah, but I'll come to that when the time it gets there. Now, with the 7 Deadly Sins Elizabeth, as I'll show you a picture right now. Which is great with this leotard, because you can kind of like reuse pieces. I'm also going to be cutting off the sleeves, and then also putting elastic at the top, kind of like think of like a thigh high, you know, you gotta have elastic at the top, and those will be her arm warmers that she wears. That'll be the costume. Also, some other things that I'm going to, with the client that I'm going over, you see this gaping right here? This isn't touching the neck, there's a gaping. And when she wore it, she also had the gaping. So when we redo the zipper part of the neck, let me cover this again, I am gonna have to kind of bring in just like maybe the tops a little bit, so that way the neck, it actually grabs her neck rather than just kind of like having a gape. So I have to correct this in the back, and that'll pull the collar back towards her. So now I will continue and I will show you how I'm cutting it. I will show you how that goes, and then we will go into doing the reinforcements. Also, I'll say this now, with stretchy fabric like this and using the elastic, I would highly recommend either you get a stretch needle or a ballpoint needle, preferably a stretch needle. You'll have better sewing outcomes and probably little to no skipped stitches when you're working with fabric like this. Use a stretch needle, and if you are able to, use a walking foot or even a roller foot would be ideal for this project. Just some tips and explanation why I use the things that I use. Again, you know, you could use whatever thread you want if this is just like a one-time thing, but if you're gonna be wearing this multiple times, it's best just to try to use the best easily available, which in my opinion, I get this stuff from Joann Fabrics. So as I was saying earlier, you do need to have stretch needles or at least a ballpoint needle, because I think a universal will just give you so many skip stitches that you're just gonna get frustrated and abandon the project. And when you use the right things, you have less frustration and you'll be able to go the distance with your project without wanting to abandon it and finish it and then actually wear what you're trying to make. So here is it's Schmetz stretch needles. I believe these are 9014s. This is what I use for stretchy fabrics like this and pleather and things like that. There's something called Elo Flex. It's from Coats. It is a thread that is actually stretchy. Now, this is where it's kind of like, it depends, because I've spoken to people in forums that are like, yeah, I can use this on the top and the bobbin and it sews great. In my case, I cannot use this on the top. I have to only use it in the bobbin, because when I try and run it through the top, it snaps like every time. But there is, I don't know if you can like see, but there's a bounce in this fabric. And whenever you use stretchy fabrics, you want thread that will bounce with it. So I use that in my bobbin, and then in the top, I just use an all-purpose polyester thread. And again, with this one's 100% polyester. With polyester, there's a slight bounce to it. I mean, not as much as the Elo Flex, obviously, but there is a slight bounce to it. And anything that has a slight bounce to it will help your project stay together, because if you try and use a cotton or a thread that's cotton but it's wound in polyester, you will probably have your stitches will probably snap when there's tension and it wants to pull and the fabric wants to stretch, but the thread is not letting it, so then the thread will snap, and then that's when you have your project start to kind of like unravel and fall apart. So those are my recommendations for the thread. So I would recommend that you get the Elo Flex for your bobbin. Try it in the top. If not, then you know that it just has to stay in your bobbin. And then a 100% polyester in the matching color for your top stitching, and this will be for the top of your machine, as well as your stretch needles. And then of course, like I said, either if you're able to have a roller foot, or even better, an even feet, or AKA walking foot as your attachment. Okay, just wanted to let you guys know on that. Now I'm coming around the front, or I'm sorry, I'm coming from the back up to the front here, and there's a seam right here that stops us. You can see the seam. That's where the body meets the collar. So with the seam allowance there, what I'm doing, let me see if you can see this. So here's where, whoops. Here's where the actual like folded sewn line is going to be. So from here, what I'm going to do is from the seam on the collar to the body, I'm going to add the seam allowance here. Can you see that? And I'm going to go all the way around. Remember, the broken lines are the actual cut lines. And then you want to just make sure in the back that everything, your lines match up. See how they match up? And then same here, I have the line when she was wearing it, and then I added a 1/2 inch seam allowance, so you see the broken line, and that's what we're going to cut. Now, I'll just kind of talk about this now. When we go ahead and redo the zipper, up here, I mean, the zipper's going to be gone. The zipper's going to be repositioned to start up here. So when I redo this, and I was saying it right now, I didn't even say it right. I'm not going to fix the zipper to bring the collar in. The zipper's going to be gone. So what I'm going to do there is just add some snaps or some hook and eyes, depending on what I have, and then just bring this to overlap more. And again, let me cover the light. See how the gaping is? So I have to bring it in tighter back here, so that way the collar comes closer to the actual neck. So when I get down here, like I said, the zipper's gonna have to start below the white line. I'm probably gonna have to, if it'll allow me, and I'll kind of show you guys this with some little pliers. And I bought this plier set, and I have a video on this, and I'm like, I'm all about like Harbor Freight tools as like my third home actually. But you actually have to like pull the teeth out. And when I say the teeth, like this track, not like the actual zipper, but the little track that the zipper goes on, you have to remove those, and then you can like fold it down, which I'll show you, but I'm just kind of like giving you the cliff notes on what I'm about to do after I cut all of this. But another tip too, before you even cut, and I just thought of this the moment before I was about to stop the video. Right before you're about to cut any of this, pull your zipper all the way down below the last cut line, which is here in the back, because it is such a pain in the butt if you have the actual zipper thing off the track when you cut it, and then you have to try and like reposition it on a track like fresh, like from the outside. It is a pain in the butt. So right now it's still on the track. Bring it down below the back fold line. Have all of this open because you're gonna cut all this off anyways to save yourself a headache. Okay. If I can like not trip over this thing I'm holding the camera with, that would be great. So remember, don't mistreat your sleeves yet, because we're gonna need them for the arm warmers unless you got something else. So I'm just gonna like pinch it and make like a little slit so my scissors may enter it, and I'm just going to follow the broken line all the way around. And you can do this flat if you are able to. If you don't have a mannequin, or if you do have a mannequin, I would suggest to cut it while it's on the mannequin, because it's just such a smoother, easier way to do this rather than trying to cut this while someone's wearing it, and you might, like accidentally cut them. That wouldn't be good. So try that. I'm just gonna go back here. And then right now with your seam ripper, once I get all this cut out, you're going to seam rip, detach the cut zipper from the collar, and all the way, I will detach it and cut it off to the dotted lines down here. And then I'll show you about removing the teeth with the pliers, if it'll allow us, because I've worked with some really good quality zippers. Mind you, it was a designer item, and the teeth would not come off. But I'm hoping this is just a very inexpensive leotard. The teeth will come off, no problem, but we'll handle it when we get there. And I'll just continue to rotate my girl here and come all the way down. In fact, let me start from down here because I'm getting a weird angle now. My hands don't go that way. There we go. Let me tuck this in. And down here, I don't know if you can see it well, so the only drawback to doing things in black. Okay, you see the seam of the arm piece? I followed this line and I added up a ½ inch, so it's just barely touching the seam of the sleeves, because I still need to have a seam allowance, right? So I'm gonna cut this and you're gonna kind of see more or less. See, I'm coming up real close to that, that sleeve. And even if we do add just a little piece of the sleeve in there, I mean, we still need it. So I'm gonna show you right here. I mean, it's hard to avoid. This is what I was talking about. This is the second video on this. I couldn't really show you right now because the light, with the way I had the camera angle, just, you couldn't see anything. But here's where the arm curves, and then this was the area where the sleeve was. With the seam allowance, I had to include, and it's kind of hard to see still, I hope you can understand what I'm pointing at. I had to have just a piece of the sleeve in there, which is this seam that you see, because it was within the ½ inch seam allowance, and I didn't want to cut that out, because if I cut that out, then I'm lowering the actual fold line when we sew, and again, I could run the risk of giving her side boob, and I don't want that. She didn't want that, you know. I measured her in a specific area, so I'm going to include that. That area might be a little thick, but that's fine. That'll be under the armpit, but it will not affect the look and where the actual stitch line falls. You know what I'm saying? Also, another quick tip. You know how we pulled our zipper down right now? And I told you leave it below that cut line. As a habit, you know, I've done this before. You might want to, you just see a zipper down and you want to pull it all the way up. And that's when you take the little zipper off the track. So right now, before you go any further, if you can get a safety pin, just kind of safety pin it down on the bottom. So that way, if you just have this weird tendency, you see it and you want to zip it up, it stops you from doing that. So that way it'll prevent you from doing a little boo-boo and having that headache later. Okay, so here is where we are at. Like I said, right now, at this point, go ahead and unstitch the zipper, the leftover zipper from your collar, as well as unstitch. Do I have to unstitch it? No, actually we don't. So just, you can leave this, just unstitch the zipper from the collar at this point on both sides, because the collar part will have snaps in it, and then we'll work from there. So let me go ahead and remove those two pieces, and then we can get on with the removing of the teeth for the zipper since it's in a new position. Let's go. Oh, frustration. Okay, so you can get some pliers and pull out the teeth. So yeah, that's not working with this zipper. What I'm gonna have to do then, it's like I don't know, it's coiled. I don't know, zippers are weird. I'm trying to figure out like why is it in some tutorials when they teach you can do this works or whatever, sorry, personal rant. So if you can still see the chalk line here, I'm just going to cut the track off like super duper close to the edge, just so that way it's free of the track and it's just like this ribbon here, just all the way to the original fold line, the actual solid line that I had drawn when the client was wearing it. So that's what I'll do, because yeah, I can't pull the teeth off. It's not working. It's just destroying the ribbon. So, you know, we all learn. So let's continue. That's all for this video, guys. Part 2 will just include all the sewing tips and tricks and how I got to the end result. Thanks so much. Bye.